Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another Thursday Live, hosted by me, Bhavna Venkatraman, and my colleague Kala Sadasivam on behalf of Viki Karnataka Human Resource Council.
Viki Karnataka Human Resource Council is a part of Viki, a national business chamber whose endeavor is to boost and build women's entrepreneurship and businesses through greater engagement with government, institutions, global trade, and networks. It is present in about 120 countries with a collective strength of about 250,000 members. Viki Karnataka Human Resource Council is an ambitious initiative headed by Shikha Gupta as president and Rani Srinivas as vice president, along with a team of accomplished women from diverse organizations and various walks of life. They aim to create a platform where women strive to make a difference. They touch upon pertinent topics, current events, sensitive issues, and much more.
School dropout and limited resources? Their child cannot be educated for sure. Professional photography for a woman? It's a phase, a fad, a hobby. I'm sure she'll get over it. A woman should know how to cook, but in the kitchen. But pursuing a profession as a chef? Really? What do we see here? Unconscious bias? Doubting the success of unconventional choices? Questioning cliches? Well, break the stereotype. Show them a different you and give them a chance to wonder. This is what our guest speakers for today have dared to do, and boy, have they made us proud. Or rather, girl, have they made us proud. Our first speaker for today is Amrita Samanth, founder and chief creative Mommy Shots by Amrita. Fondness for kids and photography led her to start Mommy Shots by Amrita in 2013. With setups in India and Singapore, Amrita is a pioneer in the maternity and child photography industry in India. Having completed over 1,400 shoots across 10 countries, she has an all-women's team. She also uses photography as a medium to raise awareness on breast milk donation and raise funds to nourish kids fighting cancer. She conducts photography workshops and personally mentors aspiring photographers like her when she started off a few years back. She has worked with several celebrities from Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood, and sports. With an education and corporate stint in human resources, Amrita made a career switch to pursue her passion in photography around 7 years ago. Welcome, Amrita.
Our next guest is Madhupriya, who is an associate HR manager, FPS Innovation Labs. A post on LinkedIn sharing her excitement on getting a promotion and publicly acknowledging the hard work of her parents who run a vegetable shop went viral, and she became busy sharing a story across events, social media, live channels, and podcasts. Madhupriya is not only a first generation learner in a family with a master's degree, but also a first girl to be educated and have a white collar corporate job in her family. With a bachelor's degree in English literature and a master's in human resource management, she works as an HR professional in an IT firm. With limited childhood memories of her own due to her parents' busy schedule at the shop and working hard for her to get educated, she ensures to be present wholly for her 2.9-year-old daughter's milestones every day. Welcome, Madhupriya.
Our third speaker for today is Kirtana Yella, pastry chef and owner at Yella Bakes. Kirtana studied to be a chef from Manipal University and soon after worked in a brewery. Yes, you heard it right, in a brewery to learn the nuances of the service industry and to improve her knowledge of spirits and freshly brewed beers. But within 6 months, she realized that spirits was not her calling and she started freelancing with baking. Today, she runs a bakery, a a shop of her own named Yella Bakes at Hyderabad, which has an elaborate and highly customizable menu made with healthy ingredients. Welcome, Kirtana. So to start off with, maybe Amrita can start with you. When did you realize you wanted to change your profession or pursue your passion, irrespective of any challenges that you may face?
Um, that's very interesting because if I think back about when I wanted to switch professions, I think my inner calling was about finding a creative job. I never really thought about the challenges that would come with a job because I really just had to satiate that, any like that inner hunger to just uh, feed that creative side of my brain. I mean, it's interesting that you're asking me about the challenges because I never even assumed I would face any challenges until I actually started out on my own because it was a huge transformational mindset from the corporate world to being an entrepreneur. But this started as early as my first year into my corporate job. I worked for about 7 years in the corporate. And while I worked 9 to 5, I would use the evening hours, that is between 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., to pursue something creative. So it would range from dance to theater to a whole range of interesting creative things. I would write for magazines. And that that chase, to live a dual life where I would go to work in the morning and live my dream in the evening, I realized you can't chase two rabbits. You have to pick one. And over a period of time, that calling got stronger, and I knew I had to get into it before it became a monster in my head.
Great, great. And I'm sure you're glad, and all of us are glad that you made that switch, Amrita.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm sure even the kids are glad. They'll thank you when they grow
Yeah.
up.
They have
They'll
a
thank you. They'll thank you when they
they
grow
have a
up
clown
and
for
they see the
now.
pictures.
Great. How about you, Kirtana?
I guess for me the switch was fairly easier because it's within the culinary industry that I moved from. It's the same industry but just a different line. But I think more than anything, I had more of the internal struggle of whether I'd be able to do it, or I focus more on the problems rather than actually doing something. And then I realized that I just have to jump right in. you know I jumped right in, I started doing it, and that's when like I realized that the problems I thought were probably this many, and then I realized that there's so many more layers to building your own entrepreneurship. Like, you need to understand finance, you need to understand HR. You're like, being one person, you have to do everything: be the HR, be the finance person, be the customer service person. Like, everything is you. It's just one single human being doing everything. So it was quite a huge challenge, but I don't regret a second of it, because every single thing I've done so far is something that I'm proud of. And I think that's what gives me the courage and the energy to wake up every morning and do everything that I do over and over again.
That's a great thought. You wake up every morning and that feeling of wanting to do something over and over again. I'm sure that's something that's driving you. Great. How about you, Madhupriya?
I am different from our other young ladies here. I'm not an entrepreneur, so 9 to 5 job is what I love the most. I've always, never wanted to do a business. Sorry, ladies. It's because I've seen my parents do a lot of business. They're away from home all the time, and I really didn't want that for me. I didn't want the pressure 24/7 of running a business. So I thought to myself, 9 to 5 job is what I want to do for my personal growth and for the family's pace as well. So from childhood I always wanted to work around people. I loved being with people. So that's when I thought maybe I can become a teacher, be around children and have fun. And when I volunteered to teach kids when I was in college, I understood I didn't have the patience to handle a bunch of kids. I think I scared them a lot more than inspiring them. So I thought this isn't going to work, and then slowly I moved to social work, where I'm now going to deal with adults. And it was actually nice. It was easy for me to convince people and work with adults. And that's how I got into social work. So what happened after going to social work? The first year of college is social work, and the second year is human resource. And when I did my first internship in TVS Motors, it's a corporate company, and it is a huge plant. So the first time when I went there for my internship, and the way people welcomed me into their workplace, it was just inspiring, and I was in awe. People were like, I was still a student, and the way they greeted me, I just loved it. And that's when I decided HR is where I'm going to work. People saying, greeting you all the time, and they usually the employees want to be in the good books of the HR for whatsoever reason. And I loved that. And my motive didn't change, because I wanted to work with people, and by the end of the day, that is what I was getting into. Just that now I was going to work into a corporate and not in the field. So that's how I changed my profession. I wouldn't say I changed, I just kept changing my idea of the profession, whereas my motive stayed the same.
Great. Great, Madhupriya.
See,
So,
you all did. Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Bhav.
yeah, go on, Kala. Go on.
No,
Yeah.
you all were just saying that, of course, when you all started, you all did say Amrita, as well as, Kirtana, you all talked about the challenges that you all actually faced when you all started with. And Madhupriya just said that, she didn't have patience teaching. I just wonder how patient Amrita is with kids who cannot even speak. I'm really curious to know about that. But anyways, we'll come to that later. So actually, with your, your profession, you all have actually broken, you can say, the glass ceilings. You all have made something totally different. So what would you all what would you all say about how you all did it? And what any stories about doing it? Actually, some story which really would be very inspiring for many people who would like to do something like this. We can start with Amrita first. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just going to offer Madhu and Keetan if they wanted to go first, but I'll go. All right. So I think one of the, I don't know if this is inspiring, but it was sort of groundbreaking for me personally, where when I first started out with photography, I was assisting a friend who was a wedding photographer, who still is a great wedding photographer. And when I went to client meetings with him, even though I was initiating the client discussion and negotiation, the man across the table would refuse to look at me and answer. He would keep looking at the man, my partner, and respond to him. And I would still try to bring his attention back to me at the table, and I would, respond again and add value to the conversation to answer his questions. And again, his responses would be directed to the male counterpart sitting beside me. That incident, I mean, I took it very personally back then because I was way younger. I still look back at it and laugh about it, but that stayed with me till date, where I realized that I don't have an equal say at the table because I'm a woman, and that stood out for me astonishingly, back then. However, when I ventured into the photography field, I really just thought I was getting into become a creative. I was going to pick up a camera and make beautiful pictures. I did not do my research to find out that there were so many different things to running a business that Keaton has already spoken about, where you're one person and you have to wear all these multiple hats to keep a business going. And one of those big important chunks of the business is, negotiating on your deals that will take you forward. And every negotiation I've ever had in the first 1, maybe 2 years even, were with me at the losing end. And it took me a while to start to speak up and stand up for myself in terms of the value I provide, the skill I bring to the table, which wasn't exactly indispensable. So that has been my biggest learning curve. And I feel like today there is no question of, I mean, thankfully, touch wood, there's no question of negotiation because I've put in that hard work, made a niche for myself. So now nobody questions what I do. They trust what I do and come to me with whatever the conversation entails in terms of closing a deal. So I mean that's my 2 cents of I think how I've actually broken stereotypes to earn that respect at the table without having to spell out all my achievements or accomplishments. So I think that unfortunately I feel like a lot of us have to spell it out even till date, but I wish that changes, and that's really where I'm headed.
I think I have a lot that goes in line with what Amrita says because I'm still in that initial stage where she had people referring to the male counterpart. Like, I am still in that position where it does really frustrate me when people don't take me seriously as a woman in the industry because I have interned and worked in places and I've spoken to people where a lot of them are like, yeah, women are supposed to be in the kitchen anyway, you know? Like that mindset I've seen in a lot of people, and I may have taken it a little extra seriously and become a professional chef, you know. But a lot of people still have that mindset that women shouldn't be working in such a, you know, in such odd hours in such a place because we don't have a set timing of work as you know, chefs. We work 12-hour shifts and we don't get the weekends off, we don't get holidays off because that's when the general public goes out, that's when all of the people are outside. So a lot of people don't think that a woman belongs in an industry like that, which is kind of frustrating because a lot of us are in that industry, a lot of us are there, a lot of us are trying to change it for the better, and it's a huge, you know, we're still at the start, there's a long way to go and we are getting better, but yeah. So I guess the whole industry being male dominant is kind of frustrating. And again, being a small business, I guess like a lot of people are like, why are you so overpriced? I mean, I can get it at a Just Bake for like half the price. They don't realize that the effort we put into it, the quality of ingredients we use, the kind of work that we do. Being a two-person team is not a joke when you have a huge amount of things to do and you run a cafe simultaneously. So I guess the negotiations and everything, like, you know, all of that builds. And yeah, like she said, it's something that takes time to build reputation. It's just frustrating that it takes that long for people to trust you about what you do and how you do things.
And Madhupriya, like when you started your career, because see, normally what happens is people normally take the advice of somebody at home. Should I join here? Should I not? Or what should I do, etc. I'm sure you wouldn't have had that, and you would have had to take your decisions on your own when you started your work, right? So, what was your feedback at that time when you were so young and you needed that advice? So, what was your feeling at that time? Like, how did you go about it to actually take a decision to choose your career? In fact.
So, you know, like I told you, how I told you, you know, how I was changing my idea or how I was choosing my profession. So slowly when I kept on choosing which profession, so my, like I said, the motive was clear. So I just sorted down which professions, you know, kind of deal with people face to face. And that's when there's only one brother in my family who's working in a corporate. So from my childhood, I've seen him work in a corporate. So none of the women have worked in a corporate. So I've always wondered how he kind of chose his because he was the first person in my family to complete his diploma and go into the corporate. So he was a mentor, and I took I took inspiration from him. And I also always, my mother is there with me. I consulted with my mother and my college professors for sure. They kind of showed the way. They told me which would be better, and the profession that would choose fit me. And I think I took their advice.
That's an interesting point you brought up, Madhupriya, about you having someone you call as a mentor, right? So maybe for you to just continue on that topic, while you spoke about this brother of yours, anyone else who's been a mentor, an inspiration, and who's really supported you all the way whenever you face challenges?
Yeah, it is this person whom I met in TVS Motors. That was my first internship place. So the person whom I was reporting was my alumni from college. So when we have an alumni, they immediately start treating us like their own. And it was a beautiful experience. He'll keep walking in the plant and he'll just keep telling everybody, she's my alumni, she's my alumni. So I think we had a very good bond when we were there. And that was the first time I'm staying out of my hometown. So I was always in Chennai. This was the first time I was leaving my house and going to another place. So he was more like a friend. And slowly he started giving me the basics of what HR is. Though we learn it practically, the theoretical experience and the teaching all gained from him. So till date, whenever I have any doubt, I'll call him. I'll be like, how will I handle this situation? And he's very nice with that. So he's been a major part in my profession.
Great, great. How about you, Amrita and Kirtana? Coincidentally, Madhu, you spoke about two males. I'm just curious to know if any of y'all have any female mentors. How has the women fraternity been in supporting each of y'all? How,
That is
Amrita? Yeah, Madhu,
actually
yeah.
actually that is a beauty in mine, because I did not have any female in my own family. I was the first one to work in the corporate, and the internships that I did were in a factory. So in a factory, there's usually more men employees than female. So the people that I conversed with were usually men, and it was very, very less of women employees.
Interesting. How about you, Amrita?
I, on the other hand, have always had female mentors actually, which is really interesting. So there are two polarizing opinions I've heard growing up, right? And also witnessed is that we keep reading about how women uplift other women or empowered women uplift other empowered women. And there's also this, small section of society who also say, women aren't actually looking out for each other and they should be doing more of that. And these come from personal experiences that, each person has had. So while I grew up, I think one of my first mentor was in the HR field because I was in human resources like Madhupriya. And she happened to be my boss's wife and also was the head of HR at an interesting firm. So my relationship with her was beautiful because this is a very selfless relationship that's built where she's investing her time to help groom someone else in the industry who does not directly impact her work or her profession in any way. So I really have a lot of respect for anyone out there who's actually going out and giving their time to a protege. But coming to your point, uh, I think it really helped accelerate my growth in the HR space. It helped me move to a better job. My growth within that job accelerated, radically, which I'm so grateful for to date. But beyond just the HR mentoring, I think there's a lot of life coaching that happens in these conversations, which also make you a better person because they are your aspiration and you want to be them. You want to be exactly like them. You want to hold the same values they hold and the same outlook they hold because you look up to these women. And it so happens that I also had two female bosses in my last HR job that I held. So there's been a lot of women influencing my life while I've been going through my initial years, my first decade of work. And with the HR space, I've had only male mentors. I don't know if that's fortunate or unfortunate, but I'm just glad I have them because, again, they've really helped me step ahead and move out of my comfort zone. And I can't appreciate anything more than having them there.
How about you, Kirtana?
So I think I've had a very mixed bag of, my mentors, because I've had few women, few men, and like a lot of people who've helped me through this. So my previous bosses and and all the people in the hotel industry before, they've all been nothing but helpful. But they most of them were men. I think the HR happened to be women who were, always trying to push me to be a better version of myself and actually prove my stance in the kitchen because they themselves see the number of women who come to work in commercial kitchens are very less. So they've always been like this strong. I don't exactly know what to call it, but like a place I could fall back on every time I felt like I was doubting myself. Every HR that I've been to, like every hotel that I've worked in, the HR there, luckily there were women who always helped me, understand and be like, okay, you know what, you've got this. There's nothing to fear. You can do this. And I think that whole thing about women sabotaging other women, it's just like a internet. It's not true. It's really not true because if you see the baking industry, especially the small home businesses, you will notice that a lot of people are women and they do nothing but help everyone else in that community. Because if I go on there and open any baker's profile, they will mention the package material they use, where they source it from, how they do certain things. They give away some tips and tricks about how to do things. So I do not think that anyone out there trying to be like, okay, you know what, I have a business, mine should grow, there shouldn't. Everyone's just like, we're a community of home bakers and we all need to grow and we all need to achieve our dreams. So I would consider them also to be my mentors because they have taught me a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have found out just by reading books or things like that, because they're in that situation in real life and they're giving me actual advice and information and how they have tackled real life situations. So I think mentors are there everywhere, and especially in this field, like everybody's out there to help you.
That's nice. I mean, like when you say that, you have mentors and women helping women. So naturally, it is like there's a myth that women never help women. That's just a myth, I guess. So from what you all have spoken, so we feel that, of course, Madhupriya fortunately had men only as her mentors, but I'm sure she'll also believe to that. At the same time, we would also like to know, like, we find that there are not many women who actually taken these, untrodden path. They would like to go for even if it's a business or a profession, something which normally people do. So we would like to hear from you all, why is it so that the women normally or also even the higher positions, I'm sure in this Madhupriya will be able to tell us that some of the higher positions are never held by women. There are many women though, but still, it's mostly the men who hold the higher position. And when it comes to businesses, it's they never take the untrodden path. It could be something which is already done and tried by somebody, and they follow it up. So your views on that? We can start with Madhupriya, since you're talking about your profession part of it, and then we'll go to the business part of it. Yeah.
For women in the corporate world, the constant question here is from the male counterpart is they are definitely going to take a break sometime on their life. They keep on thinking that if it's a person who's unmarried, they'll be like she'll get married and she'll go on a maternity leave. And after she has kids, people will keep thinking she'll always take a break for to take care of their children. So this constant question is there, and the reason why most of the women don't get that leadership position is, I think, because of the breaks that we have, or people conceive that we might take a lot of break. I think that is the major problem for women in the corporate world, and that is something will slowly keep changing when women start proving that they're here with both their legs in to prove themselves and not just work as let's say like a time pass or something.
Kirtana or Amrita, any one of you?
I guess it's a situation that's slowly changing now, because you see a lot of women, like female chefs. I mean, if you see something like MasterChef only, you see a lot of women being called back as professional chefs on the show and all of that. I think from before what it used to be to now, there has been a very significant change about how women are taken more seriously and women are rising to the top. There's a long way to go, I'm not gonna lie, because all of us are still struggling. We're still trying to figure out, like, how to pave our path and everything. But I think it's a struggle. We're getting there. There are a lot of women who are doing that, and I think the biggest problem has been that we have very odd working hours, right? So a lot of people don't like giving women the night shifts because they're like, it's not safe. You have to be in the hotel by yourself. Are you sure you want to do this? What will your family think? And there's this huge set of questions they ask you. And a lot of things happen in the night shift, especially if you're a pastry chef. They do a lot of the baking at night. So you come and you just, like, your growth is kind of stunted there. So I guess women going to the top does take a little time because we don't get the holistic learning as what a man would do being in the industry. So it takes time, but I think now that's changing. People are understanding how to accommodate all of these stereotypes in. I'm not sure that's the way to put it, but accommodate all of the requirements so that everybody gets equal learning, everybody gets an equal opportunity and equal stands to be someone who can achieve to be on the top. So yeah.
Okay, I'm going to actually follow up on your answer, on your response here. So while taking photography, I wasn't thinking of myself as a woman going down this hall. I was just thinking I'll be a photographer. And I knew of a few female women photographers across the world, but not too many in India. They did exist. I just didn't know of them when I started out. And that balance of male versus female photographers in the country, that scale is slowly tipping right now. So the last 7 years, there's been a huge number of entrants who are women, and who are pursuing photography actively. And what I love about it is the fact that this is a job that can actually, again, very specific to my genre, the media industry hasn't really been a playground for too many women because of late night shifts and all of these things that Kirtana mentioned. But I think more so now with child photography as a genre, what started, I mean, I do this job full time. I'm pretty much working 29, 30 days a month. However, it does offer you the flexibility that we need as women, which is not something to, put us into a box and say, oh, at some point we're going to take a break, because we will. Sadly, men can't have children, so we do the job and we have to work, so we pursue our careers, but we do it around our time, which is a beauty in this industry. And while I have an online photography school called Momisha's Academy, and where I'm encouraging more women to enter the field because, you know, um, moms know this space and it's an easy space for them to be in. But of course, there's a lot of hard work to be put in there. However, they can work at their time, which is a benefit. So even while hiring for my own team, one thing I had decided was I'm going to give more opportunities to women because I noticed the lack of them when I entered the space. And what I do offer, like, we're a team that are completely remote. We have, our team members are sitting in Singapore to Bangalore to Chennai. Everyone's working remotely. Everyone's working with kids. So it beautifully, and we're not losing out on productive because of this setup. So I do believe opportunity exists for us to walk down these paths that have not been done too many times, and we're able to create amazing impact with thanks to technology, as well as all the hard work and effort and passion we come with.
I mean, it's really nice to hear that when you said that you have an all women team, so that it's, I could see Kirtana clapping, and of course, I'm sure many of them would agree to it that it's a good thing that you decided on it and you're actually doing it. Like, yeah.
So, Amrita, you spoke about remote working, right? So today, in all of us, unfortunately, due to the pandemic or for various reasons, and also fortunately because social media and online connects has become the norm. So, what is your take on social media and the public recognition that you've possibly got? Obviously, because of the celebrities you work with at times, or your extensive use of social media. Any tips? How have you dealt with it? Because we've seen a huge change in the usage of social media.
All right, so I'm just repeating your question so I make sure I've got it right, which is how I've used social media to my advantage and sort of use it as a medium for my own business. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think and it's a kind of person here because Bhavna and I have go back a long way, and Bhavna, you'll recognize me as someone who can't really put up. I don't know, there's only one version of me anyone will meet and see. So I think what's really helped me with social media is actually staying completely authentic to myself, as gawky or as dorky as I can be, or as silly or funny or whatever it is that comes with who I am, is really what I have used to my advantage while I've worked with social media. And I feel like, I mean, in the beginning, I was always conscious about, putting myself on social media, putting my face out there. But I feel like that has actually helped me develop a rapport with every single follower we have, even though the numbers may be in terms of hundreds, thousands. Every single person out there, I mean, if you gather 100,000 people, that's a lot of people out there. So there's a lot of respect I give for anyone who actually hits the follow button, who's actually chatting with me, and keeping social media social by actually having conversations has really helped in a huge way. I'm not going to hide and say like hide behind the fact that yes, the celebrities I've worked with have brought a following as well, because of course they are who they are for the amount of work they put into their own respective roles as actors and directors. But at the end of the day, what really helps the business is me being myself or being my authentic self on social media and being social on it, rather than just using it as a like a window to your shop, right? Where you just keep displaying goods, but you don't really invite your customers in. So that's the advantage. I mean, we're so blessed to be in the digital era to be able to do that. So that's really what's helped me. I hope I answered your question accurately, though.
Yes, 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 yeah, definitely. In fact, Kala, I think, was very curious to know about how you work with babies, especially those who don't pose. Asking that question on
I think
behalf of
the best
Kala.
part about working with them is that they don't pose.
Great, great. Madhupriya, how about you, right? I know there was a great article about your story, very inspiring article. And you've seen a lot of public recognition as well. How are you, dealing with it, or, how has it been for you?
For me, it's been overwhelming, actually, to be honest. The amount of recognition that it has given me, the amount of love and support people are giving me, it is just too much to handle, actually. Within a very short period of time, I now have people from across the globe who are reaching out, wanting to help. There was one person from UK called, her name is Alka. She sent a sari to me and my mother. It's a very emotional thing, and she said, I just loved your mother, please give it to her. So I think social media is giving us that opportunity to kind of show what we do. Earlier I had never used social media for this kind of thing. The post kind of now pulled me into LinkedIn too much. So now there's also a huge responsibility on my shoulders to be mindful of what we post, what we tell people. So now that is there, and I think the challenge is now using it in the right way, like how Amrita said, using it as a social medium and not just Facebook and LinkedIn are different, right? So that's why we call friends in Facebook and connections in LinkedIn. So it is being mindful of how you use your medium, and I think once we start using it in the right way, it will lead us to a better place.
Great, great. Kirtana, how is it helping you?
To be very honest, I'm not very active on social media, and that has harmed me in many ways, because I know if I do use social media to its best potential, I know how it's going to help my business. But like Amrita said, I am very conscious. I'm still in the phase where I'm very conscious about what I put and how I put things on, and I don't want to do something that's probably wrong. But I think unless you try, you don't know what's good, what's not good, and how you're going to put yourself out there. So I'm still in the phase where I'm trying to figure out social media and try to understand and know how to capture the audience from there and convert them into actual orders, or even if not orders, just convert them into people who are well wishers and good connects for the business. So I'm still in the figuring out stage. I think I have a long way to reach before I get where Madhu and Amrita are.
So maybe you should, Kirtana, take the skills of Amrita for photography and Madhu for posting an article,
I already have my
and
camera ready.
combine
I'm
the
ready to
skills.
take classes.
True, true, true. And also, I would like to know, I'm in this question, I'll put it to Kirtana and Amrita, saying that, see, when you started a business, maybe there was some time when you actually felt that, getting out of a job, profession, and then getting into a business. Did you ever feel that, no, this is not my cup of tea, let me just get back? It's too tough, or I just can't manage it, let me just get back. Did you ever feel that? We'll start with Kirtana this time.
I think I have reached a point of burnout multiple times when I was initially all alone trying to do everything by myself. And I am not gonna lie, I have wondered, how life would have been if I just taken the rat of working. For me, it's a rat of working in the corporate world. I'm just saying, people who choose the path, if it works for you, it works for you. For me, it didn't. So I've always wondered, okay, what if, I just go back to the corporate world, work in a kitchen, do a 9 to 5, come back home. I have like a set routine and everything. Because right now I am 100% of the day, all the time thinking about what I'm going to do for work tomorrow. There's never a day when I'm like actually truly off, you know? So just a second. I'm sorry, my dog kind of pushed himself onto the call. I'm always thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow, how I'm going to decorate my cake, how I'm like right now after this call I have 2 cakes to decorate, and my mind is there. Like I am thinking about what I'm going to do, and it does push you to a point of burnout sometimes. But the thing is, I don't regret it. I know that I do sometimes think about how it is to be in the corporate world, but I know that that's not what it is for me, and I know that I enjoy my creative freedom. I enjoy, uh, doing what I do and teaching someone what I do. So I have no regrets about taking up what I have.
That's nice.
Kirtana, that's a very, very, very relatable answer, by the way, because I'm going to follow it up again. I have an interesting story to share, though. For like almost 7 years while I was working my corporate job. And I told you I lived this dual lifestyle where I was pursuing different creative jobs in my free time, which is 7 to 10 p.m., and which got really exhausting. But I went through 9 different creative career opportunities that I was trying to explore and see if I could make it permanent. So it went from wedding choreography to writing for magazines to a whole bunch of things, right? And what happened is, when I finally decided to take the leap of faith and start child photography, it took me a while because I'm a low risk taker. And for me, failing is not something I digest very well. So when I enter child photography, I'm like, I have to make this work. I have to make it succeed. And then you get used to the lifestyle of making sure you have certain bills to pay. You get a check at the end of the month. So you have to, and it was really hard for me to understand that you're going to be moving between, say, X amount this month, Y amount next month, Z amount next month. That was very hard to adjust to. However, what happened is the first 6 months of my career in mommy shots was amazing. It was hockey stick growth because it was very fresh in market and there was huge demand for it. I was really happy. But 6 months later, for 2 whole months, I had no inquiries, no business, no shoots, no calls coming in. My phone didn't ring, and it worried me to a point of absolute sickness. And I used that time to build my own portfolio by asking my friends to bring their kids and just shoot things I wanted to create for myself. But the whole time I was fretting. So what I did is I went back to my mentors, I went back to my HR network. Not to say that I never liked my HR job, it's just that my creative calling was just stronger. And I decided to go back to the corporate world. I'm like, this is stupid. I should have not made this mistake. I interviewed with companies. This is a very embarrassing story, by the way, because I got 2 offers. I joined a company and I quit. Please excuse the ambient noise, but I joined another company and literally, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks into it. And I have been in HR, so I know what the onboarding process is like, what the interview process is like, how much effort a company puts into hiring a person, as well as costs. And I quit right after that because what happened is as soon as I joined the company, business started to pick up. And this is not a story I've ever been public with because it's so embarrassing to tell people you were so unprofessional to go through an interview process which took 2 months. You finally join and then you decide to quit like in 10 days. Of course, I burnt bridges with a lot of people who helped me get that job. I it was very embarrassing. But what I promised myself at that point is that with Mommy Shots looking better at that point, with business coming in, I decided that no matter how much shit hits the fan, I will never quit my entrepreneurial journey and go back and doubt myself like this. And thankfully, touch wood, there's been no looking back. This was a very personal story I just shared online, but Kirtana's response just irked it out of me.
And I'm sure there will be many, many kids who are going to thank you for quitting that corporate job and continuing
And
with this.
many HR professionals watching who are going to curse you, Amrita.
You have one
Yeah,
as a guest, one as a speaker
You have
too.
Madhu and you have me.
that's why I was justifying the cost and the effort because I'm like, Madhu must be judging me now.
I think we have one. I know we're running out of time, but we have one question from Shikha, who is our president. She's very curious to know, in your current profession, how competitive is it compared to the other gender?
Sorry, could you repeat the question for me?
In your current profession, how competitive is it compared to the other gender?
Is that question for me or for all of us?
Maybe Amrita and then Kirtana can. Madhu, I'm sure you will be able to relate to it in a different way. Yeah, maybe Amrita, you can start off and then we can move to Madhu and then
I,
Kirtana. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I think in terms of competition within women photographers, I wouldn't call it competition. I think I'll have to repeat what Keetna shared earlier, which is the community is so strong that there is more collaboration than competition. And that building that collaborative community takes a bunch of strong women. So when a bunch of strong women start the community, they try to attract more people to the same tribe. And so when you're in that tribe, everyone's building everyone else up. We're always filling in for each other's gaps. We're always passing references to each other when we can't travel and do a gig ourselves. So it's really hard to call it competition from that perspective. But also my own personal um, outlook towards competition is that it doesn't exist, because the real race is actually with yourself and how you can get better on a day-to-day basis. So you compare yourself to who you were yesterday or maybe through the last shoot. And those are like two different views for competition within the same gender.
Okay. I think the question was more or with competition with the other gender, but I guess we'll. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, all right. The competition with the other gender is kind of, I mean, it's a clear winner because I'm in the space of maternity and child photography. Honestly, as much as I want to say men can do the job equally well, I do believe, or like I've seen it statistically, that women prefer to choose women photographers for the maternity and newborn photography genre. That's my 2 cents. Over to you, Kirtana.
I guess as an entrepreneur, I mean, I haven't really looked into this about like, how it is between men and women as entrepreneurs, as bakers. There is competition. I think there's always going to be competition. But I think, like Amrita said, I've never seen it as competition with another person rather than seen it as something with myself. So I have never really paid attention to how it is for the other gender in the, in the creative field of baking per se. Because when I took this up, I focused on me, myself, and I, as selfish as that is, and I worked on making my brand, working and paving my way up, and getting clients who come back to me each time. So I really haven't faced the whole thing of men and women and that difference while in this current field of work, I guess.
Maybe for Kirtana, she is her own competition. Yeah. Anything you would like to add to this, Madhu?
For me, it depends on the industry we are working in. For the manufacturing industry, it's fairly the men HR. There are a lot of men HR because they have to handle the workmen, and it's a belief that men handle the workmen better than the women employees. So in a manufacturing industry, it is usually men HRs, and fairly more in IT industry. I see that in IT industry we don't have a competition. I think it is equal, or that isn't a problem anymore.
True. Well, there are so many more questions that we wanted to ask, but then we're running out of time, and we don't want Amrita to miss her flight. She's at the airport, taking this call. And honestly, this session has been so insightful. I'm sure for the people who are here, as well as the people who are listening to us, even if people have got the minutest of doubt or interest of doing something on their own, I'm sure they're going to be really inspired after hearing y'all that how y'all changed your career and are doing something which y'all are passionate about. So wholeheartedly, we thank you all from Viki Karnataka HR Council for joining us on this show, and it was really, really insightful. And wishing you all the very best from all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Keep dreaming and keep achieving.
Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you, Kala, and thank you, girls.